Hello, I am Lauren Brantley Books, and I have been away from my channel for quite some time. I actually went back to school to study pre-med. However, after a while, I dropped it because it wasn't a good fit for me. I am now writing a book of my own and considering applying for an MFA in a writing program in the future. For now, you can expect regular book reviews from me, and I am glad to bring this channel back from hiatus. Today I am here with a review of The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a middle grade original fairy tale with a lot of non-traditional storytelling elements. The plot of the story goes as this. In a proctorate known as the City of Sorrows, every year a baby is sacrificed to the witch of the forest. According to the elders, this sacrifice is said to be the only thing that keeps the witch from destroying the people of the proctorate. However, in reality, the witch of the forest is a kindly old woman named Zan, who actually rescues the babies and brings them to a loving home in one of the free cities on the other side of the forest. She has done this for over 500 years without anyone knowing. Zan feeds these abandoned babies starlight to nourish them before she sets them up with a loving family in the free cities. However, this year Zan made a grave mistake. When she rescues the sacrificed baby, she accidentally feeds the child moonlight instead of starlight, which fills the child with magical powers. Now Zan decides to keep the baby for her own and names her Luna. Zan brings her home to her home in the forest that she shares with an ancient swamp monster named Glurk and a tiny dragon named Fyron. However, things take a turn when a toddler-aged Luna begins using her magic. Considering Luna is a toddler, she has no control over her magic, causes a lot of magical mishaps. For her own safety, Zan seals away Luna's magic, but the seal will only last until her 13th birthday. Meanwhile, Luna's real mother has been locked away in a tower for the crime of trying to prevent her daughter from being sacrificed. She begins to develop magical powers of her own as she languishes in her prison, and she's convinced that her daughter is still alive. Meanwhile, a young elder in training named Antane begins to feel at odds to how the elders run the proctorate and begins to see a new path in life. These and other stories eventually culminate into a satisfying and multi-layer plot. The strength of The Girl Who Drank the Moon lies in its strong themes and characters. Despite the title, Luna is only one of 9 point-of-view characters. For the narrators, we have Zan the Good Witch, Glurk the Swamp Monster, Fyron the Tiny Dragon, Luna's mother, the Mad Woman, Antane the Carpenter, Ethine, who is Antane's wife, Sister Agnatia, who turns out to be the antagonist of the story, and the secondary villain, Grand Elder Gerland. Having so many different voices tell the story definitely has its upsides and downsides. First, we'll start with the positives. All the characters are well developed and have their own unique voice. This is impressive given how many of these characters we're dealing with, but each one managed to have their own complete character arc. These individual character arcs also nicely fit together in the end to make for a very satisfying conclusion. Firstly, there's Luna, who has come of age while struggling with her relationship with magic. We have Zan's parental arc with raising Luna and having to make some hard decisions when it comes to Luna's upbringing and the consequences of those decisions. We have Glurk, who has to warm up to the idea of Zan raising Luna, as well as his friendship to magic itself. Fyron is a baby dragon who is still figuring out who he is and struggling with the trauma of losing his mother. Luna's mother, Adara, is known throughout most of the book as the Mad Woman. It's just because after having her child taken from her, she was imprisoned and gradually lost her sanity as grief for her stolen child aided her. The Mad Woman arc deals with grief, magic, hope, and rebellion, and her arc was easily my favorite of the bunch. She was a complex, unsettling, but deeply sympathetic character. Antane was originally one of the elders who were sent to sacrifice baby Luna to the witch. He ends up going through an emotional coming-of-age story, which leads him to having to leave the elders and become a carpenter. Eventually, he is a child with Ethine, and that child is in danger of becoming sacrificed to the witch. This leads him to go on a quest to kill the witch, not knowing that Zan is actually a kindly figure who saved the babies who have been sacrificed. Ethine is the wife of Antane, and she becomes the leader of the rebellion in the Proctorate and begins to rally the people together to fight for better conditions. Lastly, we have the two main antagonists of the story. The main one is Sister Agnatia, who is the head of an all-female society of scholars known as the Tower. Sister Agnatia was bad news from the moment she appeared on screen, but over time her true identity and role in the Proctorate is revealed. Finally, we have the secondary villain, Grand Elder Gerland, who was the head elder in the Proctorate. His villain arc is about keeping power over the Proctorate by any means necessary, and how he purposely creates fear among his people to better control them. Every one of these character arcs is relevant to the greater overarching plot and backstory, and I love the way it comes together at the end when everything hits the fan. However, the downside of having so many point of view characters is that we never really get to learn much about Luna herself. Out of all the characters, Luna's arc was honestly the weakest next to Firen's. Luna's is advertised as the protagonist, but her arc doesn't stand out among the 8 other protagonists she shares her story with. Luna spends most of the story as a small child, so that really limits her agency about 2/3 through the story. I wanted to see more of her becoming a magician, but she doesn't get the ability to wield magic until very late in the story. What we see of her magic is interesting and left me wanting more. I feel like the story might have benefited from skipping some of Luna's earlier years and spending more time during her 12th year, as this is when she has the most agency in the story. The story promises us early on that it will be about Luna's struggles to control her magic, but early on her magic is sealed away by Zan and doesn't resurface until nearly the end of the story. We never get to see her directly wield magic, and the one time she does directly take control of her magic, it's not shown. This leads me to another criticism I have, which is about the climax of this novel. The climax of this novel takes place off screen. Throughout the story, there's been a volcano that's been lurking in the background and threatening to explode. At the very end of the story, the volcano is about to blow up and kill all the characters, and the only way to stop it is Zan and Luna use their magic together to protect the Proctorate. This was set up to be an awesome scene. Luna's magic is finally awake, and now she and Zan have to work together to save the day. It looks like it's going to be an epic showdown, and I was so excited for it. Then the resolution happens all off screen. I was so disappointed. The epic fight against the volcano was never shown. We just get the setup and immediately fast forward to the aftermath when Zan and Luna successfully save the day. I was let down, and I don't see why an extra chapter or two couldn't have been added showing how Luna and Zan saved the Proctorate. It really would have been a nice scene and having the perfect climax for the book, but for some reason the author decided not to show it. It really was a missed opportunity, and I don't understand why the author left it out. The themes of the story are another positive for me. The main theme of this book is about overcoming oppression and exploring the ways in which bad leaders maintain oppression over others. Every year, the elders demand the sacrifice of a baby. This is supposedly to keep the Witch of the Forest from attacking the Proctorate, but in reality, the elders don't believe any such witch exists and just leaves the infants thinking they will die of exposure. The witch sacrifice system is just something the elders do to maintain control of the populace. The sacrifice is meant to make the people feel helpless and to resign them to their lot in life. It's a horrible tactic to many parallels to how real-life tyrants keep control over their people through fear and suppression. The people of the Proctorate are ruled by the elders and the Tower, as we find out. Both directly benefit from the suffering of their people. The people of the Proctorate go through the arc themselves, led by Ethine, and they begin to overcome their sense of helplessness and sorrow and begin to fight back against the elders in the Tower. I really like that even though these people weren't the main focus of the story, they still got to play an active role in overcoming their oppression. It wasn't just about waiting for Luna or Zan to magically fix the Proctorate. Instead, change had to come from within. I think this is an important and powerful example of how grassroots movements facilitate change. The world building of this story is well done. We don't get a lot of locations in the story as it mostly takes place in the forest or the Proctorate, but what locations we do get to visit are well described. The magic of this world is very much alive and has a will of its own. It's not the sort of magic one can categorize and study like in a magic school type story. I love stories where magic has a will of its own and maintains an air of mystique. This is magic with no hard and fast rules, and I never felt confused about how the magic of this world worked. It's just a mysterious and fantastical background force. Overall, this was a wonderful original fairy tale, and I highly recommend that you read The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Have you read The Girl Who Drank the Moon? If so, what did you think of it? This is Lauren Brantley Books, and this is my review of The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. If you have any suggestions for what I should read next, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe for more reviews like this, and don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.